meeting in 1996. I thought, gee, I hope that someday I'll have something worthwhile and can present it at a future SSE meeting. So I'm finally here, and I think I finally have something worthwhile to present. So my topic is energetic anomalies of Oak Island, Nova Scotia. For those of you who are not familiar with Oak Island, it's an island in Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia, Canada. It has a very long, interesting history, which kind of really got started in 1795 when a couple of guys discovered a pit, a depression, which they then started excavating, thinking that it was pirate treasure. So at the very top, there was a layer of flagstones. They dug down another 10 feet. They hid a layer of oak timbers sealed with clay and coconut fiber. They kept digging and digging, and every 10 feet, they would hit another layer. When they got down to about 90 feet, they found a strange stone with symbols underneath, which came to be called the 90-foot stone. When they breached the 90-foot barrier, the whole tunnel filled with water. There are flood tunnels that have been discovered that actually connect to the ocean. So the whole thing was a very elaborate booby trap. And that captivated the imagination of treasure hunters far and wide, including Franklin Roosevelt, who is this guy. And it set in motion one of the world's, if not the world's longest treasure hunt. And it spawned a TV series on the History Channel called The Curse of Oak Island, which is important because it's provided funding for not just treasure hunting, but a real investigation. It's paid for a team of professional archaeologists for the first time ever on the island. It's paid for an advanced materials testing lab on the island, so when they find artifacts, they can take them over to the lab and they can test them and date them fairly quickly, which is great. There are thousands of artifacts that have been found on the island. The archaeological evidence so far indicates that Europeans first started doing extensive earthworks on the island in 1200 or earlier. Originally, there were actually two islands. Then the two were connected sometime around 1200 or before. They know that because deep in the swamp, they call it the swamp area, they found layers of boulders, and underneath the boulders there were branches and bits of wood that could be carbon dated. So, now carbon dating, of course, is not always accurate. Sometimes it's hugely inaccurate, but there's a lot of other things that point to that 1200 date. So, there's a number of different interesting locations or features on the island. Here's the original money pit. There's the swamp, which is the big anomaly. Over here we have a constructed well that is spring-fed, which has also been dated to about 1200. And next to it, there's a freshwater pond. Near the freshwater pond, there's a mysterious rock wall. It's mysterious because on the inside is dielectric slate. Slate is a great insulator. And then around the outside is piezoelectric granite, which when you put those two together and Earth rotates and the sun pushes this massive wall or wave of electromagnetic energy, it hits this rock wall and the energy is converted into something, is my theory. Over here we have an interesting just square pit that was cut in the ground. Up there, there's a field of mysterious boulders. The boulders are mysterious because they defy our sensors. We move our magnetic and gravimetric and other sensors close to the boulder, the circuitry just shuts down. away, works fine. Moving back to the boulder, it just shuts down. So I became involved. Well, this is one of the artifacts that's been found on the island. It's about Templar lead cross that the lead isotope testing has indicated that it's from a region of France that was Templars from the old Templar mine. So I became first involved with Oak Island after my wife and I purchased a property that is known as the Castle at the Cross, or the New Ross Castle. Many people believe that it is the site of an ancient Templar settlement and that they buried some of their treasure there. We've had over 18 professional psychics on the property and remote viewers, and they all say the same thing. They agree that yes, it's a Templar site. And so that was of interest to the team on Oak Island because there's believed to be a connection between our property and Oak Island. And one of those connections may be the fact that it's just an island with oak trees. Oak trees don't naturally grow on islands in Nova Scotia because the acorns sink and they don't float out to islands. And so there's only 2 islands in Nova Scotia that had oak trees growing when the first colonists came. There's the one in Mahone Bay, and then there's another one on the other side of Nova Scotia in the Bay of Fundy. The word oak in Celtic languages means doorway and to the right. So to the right of Oak Island is the Gold River. The Gold River, if you follow it inland, it ends near our property at the Castle at the Cross. On the other side of Oak Island, or Nova Scotia, the other Oak Island to the right of it is the Gaspereau River, which leads inland, and its headwaters are about the same location. So if you were to leave a message for someone that was becoming much later and wanted to kind of keep it secret, putting oak trees on an island was one way to do it. The other curious thing is that at the top of the money pit were flagstones that only come from the mouth of the Gold River, so that was your second clue. If you didn't get those first 2 clues, you were screwed and you'd be digging for a long time. And so after I bought the property, I had one of my engineers build a magnetometer so that we can investigate the property. In Nova Scotia, there's what's called the Special Places Protection Act, which prohibits anyone from doing any type of archaeological or historic investigation. You can't even go into your own backyard with a metal detector for the purpose of looking for something old without a permit and using licensed archaeologists. So, but you can use a magnetometer. So that's what I did. I investigated my property with a magnetometer. The crew on Oak Island heard about it and they asked me to come to Oak Island and do some magnetic surveys there. So that's how I all got started. And the production company also did a couple of episodes of the show on our property to explore the Templar connection. So this is one of the first stationary magnetometers that we built. And this is measuring the magnetic and gravitational energy near the square pit. What we detected here were very sharp magnetic field peaks and collapses that don't occur elsewhere. Now the Earth's magnetic field is very complex and it's in a continual state of flux. It's always modulating. So there's a kind of a baseline that looks pretty normal, and then when you have really sharp spikes or dips, there's oftentimes something interesting that could be causing that. And so we got some very interesting readings at the square pit. They also asked me to do some psychometry on it. We got the notion that I was psychic and intuitive, and so when I tuned into it, I got some really weird stuff. I kept getting the word Aztec Egyptians, and it just kept bouncing in my head. Aztec Egyptians, Aztec Egyptians, and of course my conscious mind said, that's silly, that I can't talk about that. And then I saw these kind of short brown people descending a vertical shaft into a diagonal shaft into a deep tunnel system. So this is kind of important for other future discoveries that actually supported the Aztec thing. But it did sound a bit silly, but I've learned from remote viewing training that you don't question what you get, you just blurt it out, and it is what it is. And so I was not invited to do much more psychometry on the island, but I did do a lot more magnetic research. So here's the results, the data that we were getting from the square pit. We got really sharp field collapses. They were very short, about 1 to 2 seconds each. Then they wanted us to survey the swamp. Previous attempts had ended in failure. One drone had just crashed into the ocean, another one had crashed on the road. So we built a drone specifically just to do an aerial magnetic survey of the swamp area. And so we put in extra battery power, we shielded it a bit, and we also had a battery level display that fed back to the operator. So we were able to successfully do a quick survey over the swamp, but the 20-minute battery only lasted 5 minutes, so we had to cut the survey short. Something was depleting the battery. That's a big problem on Oak Island, is battery depletion. And the bigger the battery, the longer it takes for whatever it is to suck the energy out of it, but it's a recurring problem. So we ended up doing the survey by boat, but we didn't have any battery depletion problem on the surface, only above the swamp. So then I built a sensor network for the island. This is one of the sensors. It uses low frequency radio waves to communicate to a central server that would then a gateway that would upload the data. This is near an area that kind of has an energy vortex. Here we also did some telluric current testing. We found that the current is fairly significant, but it flows back and forth, which does not occur in other parts of the island. Then there's Nolan's Cross. Nolan's Cross is a megalithic cross made from very large boulders. The boulders, you don't find them in other parts of the island. They're just in the cross. The cross is not just a cross, it's also buried just below the surface. There are additional stones, and it's a tree of life symbol. So in the very center of the two lines is what they call the headstone, and it's actually kind of carved in the shape of the human head. It's a large flat boulder. So that's where we got some of the most interesting data. This is a sensor on top of one of the boulders. The boulders are kind of interesting because the quartz crystals are long, and that's unusual. There's no other boulders on the island that have crystals like this, so this may make this boulder very piezoelectric. So to me, that's evidence of, kind of a master engineering of possibly some type of energy system. So, excuse me. So the first time I did a survey with just one sensor on the headstone. Excuse me, I need a little water. During summer solstice, the readings were so bizarre that I thought, this can't be happening, must be instrument error. So the next year we went back with 5 sensors, different types, one 10 feet over the stone, one we had magnetic sensors on each side. Excuse me. But the really interesting data was not just at summer solstice, it was 2 nights before, during the passage of Cygnus directly overhead Oak Island. Some people believe that Nolan's Cross is actually a representation of Cygnus, not a Christian cross. And what we found was that as Cygnus passes directly over Oak Island, the headstone emits a very strong magnetic pulse that it just maxed out our instrument. So our magnetometer can measure 50 microtesla. So the Earth's magnetic field is about 40 to 50, in that location, 40 to 50 microtesla. And then we can measure another 50 microtesla. We just maxed it out. We also got almost like a heartbeat signal on the sides, the edges of the stone. And this is the actual raw data. As you can see, so this is kind of the normal reading here. Then all of a sudden, boom, the sensors just go crazy. And afterwards, so this lasted about a minute and a half. After that, it went to normal. We also use a simple circuit for measuring gravity, and we also saw some significant gravitational anomalies as well, which is really interesting. So, possible explanations include possible power line leakage. There is an underground power line that goes to one of the two houses on the property. The house isn't used very often, and it was not being used at the time that we did the survey. But we don't get these types of readings around the power line itself. And I don't feel that this possible theory is very strong. Another one is spirit activity. There's a long history of paranormal activity on the island. People see all different types of ghosts. There's this black cloud that can shut down equipment. There's cases of spirit possession. One guy ended up in a mental ward after he was possessed. And I had my own encounters with ghosts, very profound, disturbing. So I feel that this is a potentially strong possibility. So I did do some spirit relocation. I discovered decades ago that I somehow seem to have the ability to bring down the tunnel of light and relocate ghosts. So I did that. I thought there would just be a few. Well, there was 100 one night that I wanted to go home. But people on the island said that after that it felt lighter, more coherent. So that may have been a factor. There's still other spirits on the island I have not yet relocated. But with all of the archaeological evidence, I think that this, somebody constructed some type of energy system on the island. Someone with a great deal of technological sophistication who knew exactly what they were doing. And the question is, who could have done that? There's evidence of deep tunnels, hard rock mining underground. They found lots of hard rock mining tools from 1300s, 1400s. Coconut fiber has been dated to the 1300s and 1400s also. So the big question is, who was doing what on Oak Island, and how can we learn more about that? So I'm looking for anyone who can help me to better understand battery depletion, what kind of forces can shut down electronics. We solved the battery depletion problem by just using bigger and bigger batteries. We eventually got to the 40-pound photovoltaic batteries, and so I said, chew on this. And after that, they just started shutting the circuitry down. And they just switch it off. Well, there's no off switch on our sensors, but they were somehow able to just turn them off. There are parts of the island we just can't measure. The sensors just don't work there. So what causes that? I don't know. It's a mystery. And the TV show is now filming its 11th season. I currently don't have a lot of access to the island because they've kind of turned it into almost like a military intelligence operation. But I'm hoping to get access to the island again this winter, and I've proposed to them to do a 6-month survey with hardened sensors hopefully can withstand some of the disruptive forces.